fellow Tennessee District 19 residents. My name is Rueben Dockery. You know, we've seen challenges with youth violence, underachievement in our schools, dire poverty in neighborhoods, and civic disconnect from many residents. As a voter in District 19, a pastor, an educator, and community advocate, I appeal to you.
So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Attended public schools there, and I came to Nashville 26 years ago. And I, in pursuit of my bachelor's degree, currently have a bachelor's degree with a focus in history from Fisk University. From there, I got my master's degree in education with the focus on leadership supervision from Trevecca Nazarene here in Nashville. And subsequently, we went to Walden University to begin our doctoral studies in K through 12 educational leadership.
Involved in all kinds of activities in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, absolutely. We see the data, and we see today, particularly after the age of President Barack Obama, the first African-American president, where there's a huge decline in African-American voter participation across the nation. There was this energy that burst back in '07 and '08 that ultimately put them in, and we saw that decline by 2012, where there was this lack of interest. But historically, there's a historical basis for this. I'm convinced, as a student of history, that there are a lot of reasons why, specifically African Americans, have lost confidence in the electoral process in America. And specifically for the African American experience, the question is, what is the relevance for us? How really do we benefit from it? Many people would argue that it's just a game and it's not worth our time. And I think hence the apathy that we see across the nation, more specifically, state of Tennessee, right here in Davidson County. Frederick Douglass pressed him and said, you cannot set him free without giving him the quintessential right of a citizen, and that's the right to vote. And by 1870, I think it was February, the 15th Amendment was enacted as a part of the Constitution, which gave black men at that time, black women still were not allowed to vote, black men the right to vote. 7 men, black men, Negroes at that time they were called, went to the United States Congress. And they were there until about 1929, I believe it was, when they began to dwindle in terms of African American representation in Congress. And it was a long period of time before you had any more. Interestingly enough, it was the Republican Party that African Americans first embraced in terms of casting their vote. Frederick Douglass became a runner with the Liberty Party of that time, and he was actually ran as on a vice presidential ticket. I say that to say that I think for African Americans then, or Negroes as they were called aptly, the focus was not about a particular love for a particular party, but for the party that was supporting their freedom, their liberation, their opportunity to be a part of the American way of life. And that continued until about 1937, I believe it was, when Roosevelt brought the New Deal on, 35 when he brought the New Deal on. And that appealed to African American voters. And many of them supported him. And subsequently, they supported Truman. And he won 47% of the African American vote in 1947, you know. And as it moved forward, African Americans have been a part of the Democratic platform from then to now. Over the years, many of them, certain movements in the 60s and what have you, the Voters' Rights Act, it was supposed to try to do what the 15th Amendment was not doing very well, right?
Give black folk, bring black folks out in political participation.
Extend them the opportunity to actually be a viable part of America through the right to vote. registration. Absolutely. And we saw that during the 60s with SNCC and groups like that. But it's equally important to have voter education and organization, because that's what they had as well. We've lost that. Today what we're seeing is this apathy that comes from being disappointed.
And so in a real sense, there has to be much more activity in terms of organizing and educating African Americans for political participation, regardless of who might be running for an office, which is to say that not to simply go out and vote for anybody, but to be